It's Ruby Suze. I'm going to talk to you about feeling guilty and doing IVF. And every time I make a fertility video, it sums up so much courage, and something will happen that will remind me that this journey of exposing our trials is actually far greater. The reward of actually helping someone, of encouraging someone, is worth far more than me feeling a little bit more vulnerable in front of you. So I hope that this is of value to you. I hope you share it with somebody who's also in the same boat. This video came as a result of a letter that I received, an email that I received from someone who'd seen one of my videos, and I'm just, for the purpose of this video, to protect her privacy, I'm also going to change her name, but so we're just going to say her name is Sally. It says, "I'm Sally. 3 years ago I underwent 2 ectopic surgeries a year after each. My right tube was removed and the left was repaired but dilated. The doctor told my husband and I that I would never be able to conceive naturally except through IVF. Those moments were the worst state of my life. The diagnosis has completely destroyed me. It has affected the way I think, behave, my relationship with God, and so on. I am constantly sad and always feel like I'm being punished by God. My husband has decided that we should go through IVF, but I feel guilty putting him through such expenditures. Just last week I was so down that I repeatedly questioned God. I avoided going to church at all. I saw your video and was really encouraged about infertility and my marriage, and it's really blessed my life. I can't explain how I feel now. I believe God has found a way to answer my questions through you. I secretly ask Him to help me to find a way to get through this whole process. Please help me answer one question. Is it wrong to think that IVF is not God helping me? I feel like I am cheating God of the glory and should wait more. I want God to have all the glory at the end of the day. I'm just beginning to accept that this is my only option now. Best regards, Sally." When I received this email, it took me a good couple of days to really think, and my heart was just so heavy. It made me really pray, because I remember exactly how that felt when you get that news that you can't do it naturally. I mean, I think if you could do it naturally, if there's still hope, there's still a little bit of hope. If you've got all your bits, you still have there's a little chance. But once those tubes have been removed, it's like, it's nigh impossible. And by all means it matters, you are now clinically referred to as sterile, because that's what they do. They sterilize people by taking away their tubes or tying their tubes. So it's a really tough thing to deal with emotionally, let alone physically. So my heart goes out to you, Sally, and thank you so much for being brave enough to agree for me to actually share your message, and also for sharing, it's just for asking. Guilt and IVF. I remember where I was when I first heard about IVF. I was about 15 years old in a secondary school, reading about cloning, and they were talking to us in religious education about cloning and all sorts of things. And I can't remember why. There was a reason why we were talking about it in RE. And I remember seeing the words IVF, and I remember seeing next to it the bit about cloning and Dolly the sheep. And I remember instantly thinking, God forbid, I would never do IVF. And I remember saying that these people were playing God. I literally said it aloud to the person next to me. And I was only 15. Isn't it funny how life has a way of taking you back somewhere that you said you would never be or you would never do, and making you confront those issues? And that's exactly what I had to do. My worst fear, my worst nightmare, I remember saying to my husband when we were going through tests, it was that I did not want to go through IVF. I did not want that, because for me, it was like God saying that I wasn't meant to have children. That's what it felt like to me. It was like, if I had to do this, if I had to take medication, if I had to have assistance from humans, from doctors, then that would mean that God definitely does not want me to have children, because if he did, he would have given me that capability with my own body. And it was a really big thing that I had to battle. Unfortunately for me, I am Dr. Google crazy. If anything's wrong with me, if I need help with anything, I will Google search everything. I will YouTube every clip. I will know every YouTuber. I will subscribe to every single channel just so that I can get help, so I can get answers. I don't like grey area. I am black or I am white. It's good or it's bad. And so I needed to know. I needed a definition. I needed a definition. I needed to know what it looks like. I needed to prepare myself. And very often when you're going through something medically, I think people want to prepare themselves for whatever might happen. They don't want to be in the unknown, and that's exactly how I felt. So along my Google search journey, unfortunately for me, I fell upon a website that was actually, I mean, it was a Christian website that was talking about God's waiting room. So it was talking about how women were waiting for God, you know, for their opportunity to get pregnant. And I had read lots of other books, but I fell upon this website and it intrigued me, so I kept reading, and then I came across a section where it was talking about IVF and saying that if your only option is to use IVF to get pregnant, then God doesn't want you to get pregnant, and therefore, you know, you shouldn't do it, and IVF is of the devil, because, you know, no man should be, you know, helping and assisting in that area. It's only the husband, and that's the way God has said it, and it listed all these scriptures, and I was going through it. And I remember it was the dead of the night, and you know, one of those days when you'd woken up in a mild panic, like, what's going on, God, where is it? And you do a Google search and you find this website and you go into an even more state. I went hysterical. Like, I was just like staring at the screen thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I just couldn't believe what I was reading, and also because I felt like that's what I wanted to do, so I felt condemned. And I went on and on and on, and I remember just getting myself into really worked up. And I think the only thing that brought me down to earth was my husband, and he is amazing. He is Mr. Logical. Like, he is, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. And I am like 1 + 1, minimizing there, might be like -2. I somehow think a bit more like this, and he's just like this, and he just made me think logically. He was like, look, if we take medicine to get better, if you've got a headache, right, and you have to take paracetamol, then is that helping God? Like, shouldn't you just put your hand on your head and be like, be healed in Jesus' name? Or, you know, what about people who have blood pressure? Like, look, some of these people that are talking about you doing IVF being against God, those people have high blood pressure, and they're popping high blood pressure pills all the time, and no one says anything to them. They don't be healed. Like, they don't heal themselves from that. They'll heal you, and they'll cast out the demon for you and say that your child is cursed because it's through IVF. Yes, I've heard that. I've watched some YouTube videos where it said that any child born through IVF is cursed. I ain't gonna complain. I'm not gonna give them any press, because they don't need me to send you to them, because it just doesn't make sense to me. And furthermore, to make things even more real to me, was the fact that, yes, IVF takes the egg from the woman, the sperm from the man, mixes it up in a dish, and then implants the embryo back into the woman. Agreed. That process takes place outside of the body. Agreed. That's fine. However, the embryo attaching to the womb has got nothing. That is a mystery that no man can actually solve. No man can actually say, this is going to guarantee. When you go and do IVF, nobody, no doctor, no consultant will give you a 100% guarantee, which is actually heartbreaking for those of us who have to go through IVF, because the statistics are actually stacked against us. They're not for us. It doesn't mean because you do IVF you get twins. It doesn't mean that you do IVF you get pregnant instantly. Unfortunately, this thing is hard. The life can only come from God. God is the only one. The scientists, in all their glory, in all their logicizing and experimenting and trying to do through all their laboratories and trying to discover things, cannot recreate breath. They can't. They cannot make a heart beat. They can restart a heart, but they can't give it that first beat. They can't. And so your choice to do IVF is your choice. The other thing that I want to speak about is the fact that many of us have forgotten that Jesus Christ came for us to go and meet him, to have intimacy with him. We don't have to go through anybody. We don't have to go through a pastor. We don't have to go through a priest. We have that, that has passed away. You can speak to God when you're on the toilet. You can speak to him in the shower. You can speak to him in the car. You can speak to him wherever you like. Isn't that amazing? So the fact that you have to go and seek, you don't have to go and seek your pastor's permission or anybody's permission in order for you to do what you feel is right for you to do. You need to make sure that you are right with God first. He needs to speak to you. If you go and seek God and you have peace with it and God's given you peace and he's given you the go ahead, then by all means go ahead and do it. It's not for me to judge. It's not for the doctor to judge. It's not for the guy on YouTube to judge. It is between you and God. As far as I'm concerned, unless God himself has told me or is written expressly in his Bible not to do IVF, that's all that is left for me medically to do. And my choice was, and my decision was, and my resolve was, myself and my husband was, that even if IVF did not work, if we had tried it maybe once or twice and it did not work, we had resolved we were still going to be parents. We are still resolved to adopt. We believe wholeheartedly in adoption. And I know various different people have different feelings about it, and that is okay as well. Everybody's entitled to go the journey that they feel is right for them. And I don't feel anybody else is within the right to condemn. And first, you cannot condemn yourself, and no one else can condemn you. God has not given you the spirit of condemnation, of fear, of pulling you down. That's not God speaking. God gives life. He might convict you. He will tell you, oh, that's not quite right. But he will never pull you down to such an extent that you will feel less than. God is here to give you life. He says it comes to give us life and life in abundance. And now I feel like I'm preaching. But to answer your question, Sally, you are not helping God. You are not helping God. And I don't want you to allow anyone else to tell you that you are. You can't help God. We are mere mortals. And God doesn't even need our help. All he needs you to do, as hard and as painful as it is trust him. So if you are trying to do IVF today and you feel like maybe I shouldn't because I feel guilty as a Christian, or you just feel guilty because of finances, look, money's going to get spent. We are not taking this money with us to heaven. We're just not going to be able to take it to heaven. We're not like those Egyptians. Let's not be foolish. We can't put our Bentley or, in Jesus' name I get a Bentley. We can't put all those things into our coffin and take it with us to the next part. It doesn't work. So don't feel guilty for investing in your children. There are certain things that financial hits that we've taken because we have had IVF. It's set us back technically, if you think about it. It is set us back, but you can't put a price on I cannot put a price on my children. And your husband loves you. He married you first. And even when you do have these amazing children, whether they come through adoption, whether they come through IVF, however they come into your life, sadly, they're going to grow up and they're going to go off and start families of their own. He loves you, and it's so important that through this journey, you guys have got to be together, because I've heard so many times of people who go through fertility and they get, you know, they finally have their child, and then, you know, the pressures of having a child, the pressures of actually what you've gone through, because you're tired emotionally, and then now you're tired emotionally going through IVF, however many times you've done it, or whether you've had miscarriages, all those things, you're tired, and then you've got a life to care for, which is emotionally draining. You're spent, like, done. People do divorce. Don't be one of them. Love your husband, embrace him, because you need him, like, and he needs you, and he loves you, and he's not gonna care about the money he spent, because he's aching just as much as you are. My name is Ruby Suze. I felt guilty about doing IVF, and I'm still here.